My aim is to set right the this idea about mastery of life from the point of view of the worldwide educators and the new foundation, the, the new presentation rather. And it's a task that I've given myself, and in fact, you have really thrown the light very clearly, and I know exactly what path to take, how to go about it, to write something that others can, that will be a real challenge and a very fresh point of view when pitted against the old doctrines of self-mastery and the mastery of life. Have you touched on so many things that I did not, I did not envisage at first. And what you said is really pertinent to me, because I have conceived of this idea, and I'm drafting some ideas, putting some ideas together to, in my own way, set straight the records, the give the real knowledge out there about what life should be, in fact. So I thank you very much. Uh, Whatever I do, I think I'll cross-check with you and give you to read so that it can really serve as a very good guide to people on how to live this life. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Let me just add, no, I appreciate your listening because it's really for you. And from my point of view, you might say the satisfaction with what I am presenting is to where a person at least sincerely listens and considers it. That's all. Because again, that becomes a reality. It really does, because you start to see it. Here's the idea. You know, Paul set up things a particular way, and this is where the idea of the initiations comes in, and it's understandable. And just like when we went to school, we went to first grade, second grade, third grade, then we went to college and we take the courses and we get degrees, BA, BS, and then baloney all together and whatever, and then it's masters and it's PhD and it's whatever. Okay, all these things. See, we look in the literal sense at these things, but you know, this really has nothing to do with the sun shining. It has nothing to do with it. Yeah, we go through this process, but we self-convince ourselves that this is how life is, and we keep deciding how life is, and this is what you have to get past. You have to let that go. No, what you have to learn to see, this is why I've basically divided creation and the real universes, even though Paul laid out the so-called God chart, but it was really in a literal sense. It wasn't an actuality. It was a literal sense. And so, you know, with the whole of life, you have to basically set aside all these references, and that's all creation is. Creation is a reference and not a true reality like people consider. But if you consider it your true reality, then it becomes that. But it's not. It's just a reference, and it's something we go through, okay? But I see the heart to the heart of person. We are real beings. We're awesome beings of real light. We are that already. It's just recognizing it, so it makes sense to focus on that, and eventually that comes to be. So, you know, yes, we go through the process here, but it's the whole of life. You know, as I write, it's the whole of life. But then again, people still think in terms of creation. And so you have to understand, you have to give up this time limit, these steps, these stages, and all this stuff. Just throw that all out. Yeah, we use that as a reference to relate to, like our children and other people. You use certain things, you know, created things as a reference, but realistically, you just throw it all out. because it's an endless isness that already is now, but you need to see it. Okay, you decide how you're going to see it. And it doesn't matter how you see it. It doesn't matter how I see it, or Rebazar sees it, or whoever. You know what? It's still endless to them too. You know, they see it from a certain position, but it's still endless to them. And this is what's so cool about this. In other words, now you don't have to deal and maintain the obstacles that you've created or have known. You can let them go because they're just all obstacles. Everything that you have here and we have here, these are restrictions and obstacles. The mastery of life, what is it that you're going to master, huh? Being the great truck driver, is that what you're going to master? Well, hey, go for it, okay? And you can be known as the great truck driver. You've mastered life. You've mastered the road, okay? Or you're the astronaut. You flew the highest and you parachuted the furthest. Whatever. People think, oh, he's mastered this or whatever. See, these are these ideas. You want them, you got them. But you know what? The isness is awesome. There's no restrictions, and you're not tripping over your own creations that become obstacles. And this is where, in the beginning of the journey, you have to go through yourself first. This is where people are maybe like driving along the road, and all of a sudden in the middle of the road, there's this huge monolith or monument. And it's like you look up at it, it's like, well, gee, what is that? This is thousands of feet high. What is this? Well, you don't remember that you created that in some lifetime. It's one of your obstacles. Now you either go around it or you do whatever, etc. You sit there and gaze at it and awe at it forever. This is where, just like in the Tiger thing where Paul wrote, and when he went into the astral realm and he saw this statue of Jot Naranja, which was up to the clouds, and then the angel writing all the transcripts in the big book of life, supposedly, on the causal plane. It's like, oh, these things are awesome, and probably people are sitting there praying and looking up these things through eternity. You can decide whatever you want, but there is more to it, and at a certain point, you graduate into your recognition of something that is the reality life is, and that's where we're at. And again, the new presentation is pale in comparison. I'm not on stage like Harry's saying, oh, the teachings of Eck or this or that or whatever. I don't say that. I don't even use that word teachings. I don't like the word. It's not about like or dislike, but I'll just use that. Teachings, classes, all these things, initiates, followers, students, and, whatever. And I do use students sometimes, but that's in reference to the courses. But I like groups because it says grow up is really what it says, and it's time to grow up, and that's why I like the Skype groups. But when you think about teachings and whatever, see, again, these things are more subliminal, and these ideas, the mastery of life and all that, and it's not a put down. It just becomes a subliminal reference to where the individual thinks that created thing, that document, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Bible, the created business plan by the reptilians, whatever, is bigger and more important than recognizing an awesome self-sufficient position of recognizing the all is, and standing there and recognizing all these other awesome beings too. It seems like this documentation and these ideas, see, this is where they become obstacles and no longer a beneficial reference. And so as long as we're here, yes, go through it, see it for that, see it as a reference. Like when you watch the movies, instead of just being entertainment, see them as documentaries, pick something up from them as references. I look for many references to create more references so that everybody has a chance to get something from something. And so as we compare the new presentation right now to what even Paul wrote, yeah, it was wonderful what Paul wrote. I love Paul's books, fine. Okay, but it was not the true love affair. I did like his books. I did love his books. But the true love affair is what the all is. That's real love, okay? And what I had with that and Paul being here, etc., again, he was like the deliverer at the time. But now, that stuff doesn't relate. And actually, some of it or much of it has become obstacles because people have built up ideas around it, and they've created more obstacles with it to where it imprisons people, and we already know that. And so that doesn't mean it's bad. Okay, I didn't say it's bad. Okay, it is what it is. It's become what it is, and anyone can see it on the real side. You look behind the curtain and you see it, not just the painted front. So again, I'm not saying that we're better than anybody. It's not about that. Again, it's not about good or bad. I'm just saying that, and it's very real. Just like I wrote the group yesterday, we are the best reference now, and we really are to the all is. But the reason most people want to understand this because their created stuff, if it's the Bible or it's the Shariat or whatever, is a reference to the gods of man. There is a difference, okay? They're thinking it's the same thing, but those of you that can see this know that it's not at all, not even close. So again, this is a privilege to be able to do this. And again, these ekis, these people that come up, I'm very honest with them every time. I say, just simply ask Rebazar or Paul on the real side. They will show you. But you know what? They don't do it. They just figure, I already know Harry and Joni, and I'm a member of the corporation, especially if they're higher initiates. They really love their arrogance. And so, that's where I'm at. I don't need to ask Rebazar. See, they're the know-it-alls. You might say they've mastered life because now they're the all-knowing higher initiate. Well, okay, that's fine. Okay, we got all these little masters running around, and that's fine. It's all fine. Everybody can wear any suit of clothes they want, any shoes they want. You have the right to do it. All I'm trying to do is warn people about what's really going on, and as they grow older, you know what, they're just going to forget they were here. That's very real. And so, because they've made the choice, it's not that the boys are going to drag them somewhere or that the gods are going to save them or whatever. No, it's all about choice. Us, the gods, the real guides, etc. Every moment we're making a decision. But what's so cool about the isnesses is that it is not a procession of moment by moment by moment. It's an isness to where once you stand real with it like the sun shining and you've decided to stand there, well, guess what? You've created your own protection and you are invulnerable from the secondary effects of anything, even yourself, because you've decided to be real with the whole of life. I see that as awesome compared to chasing ideas and thinking and pinning ideas on yourself like merit badges, like the Queen and her, she has a few little things on her chest. I don't know, I think she got those at Walmart or wherever because they created Walmart. But then you got the guys standing next to her. She's usually sitting, and you got these guys standing next to her with their jackets, and they got like 50 or 60 of these things, these little badges. And maybe if you looked at them close, maybe there's an emblem of a Ford and a Chevy, and maybe Coca-Cola there or something like that. I don't know. Okay, I never look at them close, but I see all these little things that they decorate themselves with to impress the public. Well, hey, you can go do that. You can wear whatever you want. Does that mean something? Well, to me, the isness, standing real with that means everything. So again, creating the best references that we can, but I'm not going to use the old stuff because then I see that it keeps people focused on the old stuff because that's near and dear to their heart, because for many lifetimes, as an example, people have heard the name Jesus and the miracles of Jesus, and lifetime after lifetime they hear this, so they come back into this life and it all seems so familiar. It's like, I just blend right in with this. Well, that's fine, have fun, but it has nothing to do with what cannot even be considered. And so it's a choice, isn't it, Charles? Yes, we are awesome, and I would say take the risk to be awesome. And yes, the challenge of you to, interpret whatever exists here, I take on the challenge. I step up to it. I love it. I love the challenge. That's why we're, looking at the lawsuit and other things. It's not about the lawsuit. It's about, let's see what comes from it, and let's take on the challenge to see if we can present something that makes more sense than the nonsense this world is creating. That's all. It's something to do. It's better than just sitting there listening all the time. So again, yes, merriment or class, and anybody can do something. Will you take the time? Will you sit down and write something? Will you try and figure it out? Will you do something? This is your journey. Will you write 100 pages of your life story and how you got here? Will you do that? Will you take the time to do something? If you don't, your life is what it is, and that's it. You got to make it. You've got to see it, and this is where it is now. We don't need the babysitters anymore. It's learning to stand real with the boys. This is the whole idea of what they're doing. They're going to do certain things, but it's not. I look at it like, I will figure this out. I will see how to stand more real and more real and more real with the real guides and the all is. I will figure that out for myself. And in the meantime, yeah, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to cry a little bit, and I'm going to, kick the walls, etc. Okay, that's the personal self. That's a given. All right, that's just part of it. But I see that that's not the reality. And at the same time as I present this to the world, I'm the number one target in the world. Everybody's going to be a target as they step up. It's scary. That's, they're thinking of saving their life and their children, whatever. There's no such thing. If you don't do it, guess what? You're not going to see it. That's just how it is. So there's no plan to this. There's, it's like the flowers growing in the field. It's like the sun shining. It's like the waves coming across the ocean and the sea breeze coming to shore. It's whatever it is, and take it on. Take on the challenge, instead of just creating ideas that, I think it's this and I think it's that, and, we'll blah, 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 blah. Well, this is what the great thinkers and the great know-it-alls and controllers of the world have done, and this is where we are now. The planet's all poisoned and polluted. You see? This is where things just went wrong somewhere, didn't they? And they don't have to. We are the real light here, stepping up to that reality and recognizing it, and focusing. Number one is the all is, to recognize that, and how do I stand real with that every single moment? How do I do that? You see, that would be the focus, and then you just go do the things. You go do your laundry and the whatever, but you plant your intent with that, and then you take the time to make it as real as you can with yourself, to where eventually you just become a being of light, and you know what? The personal self just disappears. Now, if you can imagine that, gee whiz, can it be so? Didn't somebody imagine the cell phone, and now we got it? Okay, we did see it on Star Trek first, and it's like, wow, that's cool, a communicator. Gee, now everybody's got one, and you know what? It was just like that, wasn't it? Now all of a sudden everybody's got one. You see, and just like that, you can recognize the is and stand real there and be awesome. Your choice.